Good evening. We are reconvening from our earlier recess meeting for the purposes of discussing the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Present.
Councilman Clark.
Present.
Councilman Deutsch. Councilwoman Fox.
Here.
Councilman Gale.
Here.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Present.
Councilman Sanchez.
Present.
Councilwoman Thames.
Present.
Councilwoman Winch.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for the financial resolution. Item number 1, that the mayor recommended budget for fiscal year 2019 to 2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $220,000 for the Department of Public Works, of which $100,000 shall be for a graffiti removal program and $120,000 shall be for seasonal employment as needed. Be it further resolved that the mayor recommend the budget for fiscal 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $20,000 in sundry, which shall be for increased public access by broadcast and online services of City Council committee meetings. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $66,500 for the Finance Department, which shall be for the addition of 1 employee for the Tax Collector's Office. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $10,000 for the Registrars of Voters Office. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $10,000 for the Department of Children, Families, and Recreation. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget for 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $50,000 in the capital improvements pay-as-you-go budget, which shall be for the Hartford Decides program. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $30,000 in the library budget, which shall be for the assisting Hartford's immigrant community with the census process. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 be amended to reflect a decrease of $56,500 in the Health and Human Services Department budget, reflecting a decrease in the budget for relocation benefits. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 be amended to reflect a decrease of $50,000 from the fire department, reflecting a decrease in the suppression specials events overtime budget. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget for 2019-2020 be amended to reflect a decrease of $240,000 in the police department budget, reflecting a decrease of $190,000 in the police academy budget and $50,000 in the support services budget. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget 2019-2020 be amended to reflect a decrease of $10,000 from the sundry budget. And be it further resolved that the mayor's recommended budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 be amended to reflect a decrease of $50,000 in the non-operational department budget, reflecting a decrease in the contingency budget.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the proposed financial resolutions? Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I just, for the record, would like to reflect that our first resolve clause regarding in the latter part for the $120,000 shall be for seasonal employment, as discussed. We would like for that to be an emphasis on hiring Hartford residents for a seasonal period, in particular those that have been subject to the criminal justice system and given a second chance, for them to be afforded the opportunity to seek employment through the city of Hartford for a time as seasonal temps. This is a practice that DPW has done in the past, and we hope that this can increase the employment population of our Hartford residents during a time where those that have been subject to the criminal justice system are having a hard time seeking to provide jobs. So I wholeheartedly support this particular line item.
Councilwoman Winch.
Yes, Madam President, I just want to echo my colleagues' sentiments and thank my colleagues for, listening and hearing, because we heard from several of our employees who came by to visit us. So it's very important that they understand we value their opinion, we value what they say, that we listened to them, we heard them. And so I'm going to be really looking and checking through the Labor, Education, and Workforce and Development Committee to see that those dollars are spent the way we allocated them to, because it's one thing to give funds and say this is what it's for, and then it's another thing to follow up to ensure that that's what those funds are doing. So we want to let them know that we value them and we appreciate their service, and anytime we can help, then we want to make sure that that's what we're doing for the residents of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Minority Leader.
Thank you. Through you, Council President, I would also like to thank Council colleagues here tonight, and the $120,000 for seasonal employment to also be considered in the sanitation department. During the budget process, we got to hear from our sanitation workers and other DPW workers, and we were able to really assess what some of those gaps were, and certainly in that area was one of them.
And so I just would, again, say thank you to my colleagues. This has been a long day. We all came in at 12 noon and have been diligently going through the budgets and really kind of expressing our priorities with respect to what we hear from our residents and what we see. And so I think, given the fiscal constraints that we do have with our budgets, because again, we've been able to stabilize our budget over the last couple of years, but our margins still remain very tight. And we're not always able to do what we would want to do, but I think we really try to express our values and priorities for our residents in reinvesting in quality of life initiatives such as the graffiti program and increasing opportunities for our residents through the seasonal employment opportunity, and really kind of recognizing that we have a population that doesn't always have access to opportunities. So how can we utilize our own resources and give them opportunities? We have a reentry center now, a welcome center that has, service over 300 individuals returning to Hartford in the last 6 months since it's been open. So I think we now have a really good synergistic opportunity to use that as a resource to fund, again, some employment opportunities, particularly within our DPW department, to advance the cleanliness agenda of our city, because I think we all recognize that we have to do a better job with making sure that we have a clean city. And so the intent of, the seasonal employment is that in those peak seasons, whether it's summer, spring, leaf season, that we're able to use those seasonal employees to really be out there, be present, and help increase the quality of life of the city of Hartford and its residents. Again, Hartford Decides is another, again, quality of life initiative and civic engagement initiative. We were able to put back some money, not the full authorization that they were asking for, but I'm a firm believer of that program and the level of engagement that citizens have had the opportunity to kind of take, specific projects and priorities that they have so they can decide how they want to make those investments. So we were able to put back some money in there as well. And again, the census is a huge, huge opportunity for the city of Hartford, and we need to make sure that we are fully counting all of our residents so we can have access to all of the funding that will be available to us. And if we're not accurately accounting for our residents and our populations, we lose out on a lot of money. And we are a community that is rich with immigrants, and we know the difficulties that they have, and we want to make sure that we can accurately count for them. And so we want to give some money to the library because they do a lot of work with the immigrant community to really do some outreach to our immigrant residents regarding awareness, access, and educating them on the census process, and so that they know that they need to be counted and are aware of that opportunity. So with that, I will kind of stop there because I see my colleagues looking at me. But again, I think it's really important. Again, this is our fourth budget together. We have 2 new colleagues. This is your first budget. You did a good job. You hung in there. You're champs. I think we made it past the finish line momentarily. We're almost there. But again, I just want to thank everybody for the collaborative process, working with the administration, because this is a collaborative process, and getting to a place where I think this expresses our priorities and values on behalf of the city of Hartford residents. So again, thank you all for that, and thank you to our staff as well that helped us diligently through this process. So, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clerk.
Yes.
Councilman Deutsch. Councilwoman Fox.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Thames.
Yes.
Councilwoman Winch.
Yes.
Pass.
Minority Leader?
Our WFP financial resolution, whereas in the past 2 years, various properties that received U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development contracts have been revoked for non-compliance with housing code requirements, shifting more resources to grow housing inspectors for the City of Hartford would call for a better safeguard for detecting tenants' complaints and reducing the number of slumlords. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor's recommended budget fiscal year 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an increase of $132,000 to Development Services Housing Inspectors, and be it further resolved that the Mayor's recommended budget fiscal year 2019-2020 be amended to reflect a decrease of $132,000 in detention.
There's a motion?
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Pass.
Councilman Deutsch, Councilwoman Fox,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
No.
Councilwoman Rosado,
No.
Councilman Sanchez,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Thames,
No.
Councilwoman Lynch,
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
For clarification, and maybe, I'm not sure if Corporation Counsel or our Budget Director or Council leadership can provide detailed information. Does the Department of Development Services under License Inspection, which has the housing inspectors, do they actually have vacancies in the department?
Yes, they do. So a part of this process, when this was brought forth, it was acknowledged that they have a good amount of housing inspectors and actually have 2 housing inspector vacancies that they're planning to fill, which was the rationale on why the additional housing inspector at this time wasn't needed. And that, again, that's why I, voted no. It wasn't that I didn't believe in this, because I do, and I've been working with the administration and the housing department on all of these issues. But given that we have 2 vacancies that we need to fill, talking to the administration, they felt that they were at a good level. Again, and need to fill those 2 vacancies before adding a 3rd new position.
And through the chair, have they indicated how many applicants that they received, or where are they in the process of hiring additional inspectors?
No, I don't know kind of where they are with respect to filling it. I just know that they're going to be filling for 2 housing inspectors.
And also, too, through the chair, is this 132,000 also reflective of what they're looking to hire 2 inspectors coming in at with fringe benefits?
I'm sorry, say that again?
With the 132,000 that the minority party has introduced, is that reflective of the actual salaries?
Oh, the
plus
all-in
fringe?
cost. Yes, so
Yes.
that's for 1 inspector for salary and fringe at the 66% fringe rate.
Okay, thank you. So I have to vote. I do wholeheartedly support my colleagues of the Work and Families Party, but I will abstain.
Item fails.
Minority Leader?
So our second financial resolution, and if it fails, we will certainly be taking this up in our following city council meeting with with the same intent, but a new resolution. Resolved that the mayor's recommended budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 be amended to reflect an allocation of $30,000 from Health and Human Services relocation 588300 to be dedicated for the assistance of immigrant families residing in Hartford facing deportation.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on this item? Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, can either you, the leadership, or our budget director just indicate the current budget regarding in Health and Human Services and under relocation item budget code 588300 as to if there's excess money that can be rolled over into our upcoming fiscal budget to take care of the immigrant families for relocation services?
Yep, so it is my understanding, and again, Jolisa is here as well, but it's my understanding that we had allocated $50,000 in this current year fiscal 19 budget, of which approximately 15,000 has been expended. So there's a potential balance of around $25,000 that can be used essentially in the next fiscal year because it's running a surplus, so we can use those funds in the next fiscal year, expanding the access for the intended purposes that the minority laid out. Yolita,
The FY19 budget, it's $825,000. I do not have a specifics how much particular for this program was spent and what is available. What are we budgeting for FY20? It's $790,000, so it's less what it was last year budgeted.
Okay, Minority Leader, do you have anything to add?
The final thing we would like to add is seeing that we are a sanctuary city, seeing that we've made national news with our most recent Hartford resident facing deportation was Zaro, who was pardoned by our governor and as well as the pardon team, and also our Attorney General spoke of this case and is currently facing deportation even though she was pardoned. And so there's certainly a need that exists, and in the same way that the intent of this council body certainly stepped up and helped those displaced families facing Hurricane Maria, the courtesy is to do the same for those families who are residing in our city and are facing deportation and certainly are looking for some kind of financial assistance.
So Yolita, just so we're clear, because again, I support the intent of the resolution, but from a financial perspective, again, my understanding is that there is potential, a surplus running from the initial earmark allocation that we had for this current year. So in the event that there are funds that are left over, we can, for lack of a better word, roll them over to the next fiscal year and do that by a resolution at a future council meeting for this intended purpose.
We can discuss that in the next meeting. I will get more information, what's actually spent and what is available. We do run a surplus, but that's due to, once again, the reimbursements that we're receiving for relocation expenses this year. And I can't answer direct, I cannot give you a direct answer. This is due to the specific program.
Howard, do you have something to add?
Yes.
'Cause I see your eyebrows going up.
Through you, the only thing I would add is what I suggested to the minority leader is that we know that in this account generally, set aside the specific monies that were authorized for the immigration program in Health and Human Services, there will be money lapsed, or there will be a surplus in this account at the end of this fiscal year. So just like we are considering with respect to the surplus in the Board of Education, it was my suggestion that through a resolution expressing the intent of the council to appropriate out of fund balance for FY20 the amount of $30,000 to continue this program to assist this population. I think that's the mechanism through which this council can fulfill the desire of the minority leader and the support of the community that we're speaking about.
So just in addition to, I think, I don't necessarily think this is it's a financial, but it's a non-financial, if that makes sense, because it's really just directing, because this was the same resolution that we put forth last year and was just directing of the relocation budget that 30,000 of it is used for services for families displaced from Hurricane Maria. So this resolution is doing the same thing, it's just expanding it to include families that are facing deportation have access to these funds as well. So it's not adding budget or revenue, if you will. So again, it's a financial, but it's a non-financial, so I don't see any, it's not messing up the balance of the budget, if you will. Councilwoman Winch?
Yes, Madam President, my colleagues, with a family who's an immigrant to this country, is where everybody's sitting around this dais. It is very important that we service individuals that come into our boundaries. So not necessarily can we provide them, every single service or every single right that we have privilege there to, but when they're facing unfair, prejudices and things to them that they didn't bring on themselves, such as children who their parents brought to the country or children born into this country, it's very important that they have immigrant services to help with how they navigate between the child being a U.S. citizen and the parent not being. How does that we do to help with the quality of life of the family itself. So I'm going to be supporting this, and I ask my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And I think this is just, an added value that the city of Hartford can provide, because there are a lot of agencies that, help the immigrant community, particularly in this vein. Catholic Charities is one of those organizations. And I know the mayor's office recently worked with them to get a grant. So there are those services, but I think this is the city of Hartford, again, expressing our priorities and our values more than anything. So with that, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Deutsch. Councilwoman Fox.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Thames.
Yes.
Councilwoman Winch.
Yes.
Pass.
Okay, with that, I think that concludes our long day, a marathon day. But again, thank you to all my colleagues. Thank you to the staff. Councilman Clark has one more thing to say.
Just one quick
very
thing.
Quickly.
Very quickly, we just want to wish our
Yes,
council colleague,
absolutely.
Councilwoman Fox, a happy birthday. She spent her birthday here.
Happy birthday!
Deliberating, so time well spent. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
and she's been so kind to share her time with us today. So welcome to council and welcome to budget season, because this is kind of the sacrifice that we all did. And happy birthday to Miss Gale, Tracy Gale, because it is her birthday as well, the wife of Councilman Gale as well. Thank you. So with that, good night. Thank you. God bless.